For the third step in my journey, understanding how what we eat shapes who we are, I returned closer to home, Northern Europe, Norway, the city of Oslo. There I met with two women who are at the forefront of the debate around food processing and the fast food revolution, Joanna Blythman and Marit Kolby. Previously, I had met up with Professor Andrew Menti, principal researcher of the world's largest diet and health study, the PURE Study, who helped me understand why eating enough protective and nutrient-dense foods is so important to our health and well-being. The other side of the nourishment table focuses on the way we process our foods, especially the dangers posed by the ever-increasing number of ultra-processed foods consumed in a growing number of countries.
Marit Kolby is a Norwegian nutritionist, public health advocate, and best-selling author, whose book, What and When Should We Eat?, empowers people to make more informed decisions about what they eat. Joanna Blythman is a prize-winning British investigative food journalist, whose many books and articles have for many years championed the benefits of including enough whole foods in our diets and the importance of cooking from scratch.
Interestingly, we had some great conversations between the three of us about the role that food plays in our lives, not only to nourish us, but as a central point of companionship and bringing people together.
Now we have really good evidence showing that ultra-processed diets, they are displacing traditional food cultures globally. We know that they lead to a worsening of the quality of people's diets, so they're less nutritious and we get less of those beneficial compounds from foods. And we also know that they lead to health problems. And we've seen that in all age groups, all the countries where it has been investigated, and it's very clear that the sort of takeover of our food cultures is not a good thing for human health.
Don't you feel that like the culinary world, the restaurant world instead, should be also involved in re-bringing out the message of what food actually is? Just the fact that a lot of people, as you said, we sometimes need to take out or to eat out because we don't have the time to cook, and they could be a part of this also kind of messaging.
I mean, I have huge respect for good chefs because for me they're some of the best custodians of our food culture, and we're cooking them for you with all the skill and knowledge that runs down the food chain, you know, handy to us by very wise people before us, and we're making it into something wonderfully pleasurable to eat, something that will be a highlight of your life. And that kind of, for me, the chefs have a pivotal role in doing that. There are lots of us who have that sort of intuitive gut instinct that this is a very important thing in our lives and we have to protect it.
In our family, food is very central. Sitting at the table, food, wine, companionship was what makes my family and has always made my family. And that was what I wanted to be able to do in my life, was to create that.
And it's an easy pleasure. Do you know, it's something that you can do for yourself in your daily life that just makes you have a nicer life.
So you talked about, you know, the actual food producers, which are the farmers, and the actual consumers.
Well, we could joke on wine even.
Yeah.
Wine is a processed food in a way. So in my case, I cover the full part of the value chain, but I would definitely not consider myself in any way an ultra-processed food, because in all of this process, nothing is ever being added.
It's
processing was also historically what we needed in order to help us.
And to even improve the nutritional quality of foods, like with grains, to make bread from flours, for instance. So yeah, it's very much part of our tradition and culture, and we should value that type of processing and stay aware of the difference between that type of processing and the ultra processing, which is really sort of subtracting value to us as consumers, I think.
And to the food itself.
Yeah, and also that's food or food-like products that come out of the lab or the bioreactor or the factory. And that's very different from products which are essentially things like perhaps cured ham or a handmade cheese, which is preserved in a sort of traditional, time-honoured way. We know that, you know, humans do very well on those kinds of foods. We know, on the other hand, that we're undergoing an experiment, a really dangerous experiment, say 50 years of eating, and it's an aberration, and it's pretty clear that it's not going to end well for us.
So these ultra-processed foods, they are ready to eat or ready to heat. So you can, they're very convenient, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. And nothing wrong with earning money on creating food products.
Yeah.
So that's not the problem. The problem is that extra level of processing turns out to be a problem for the human biology. The ways that these foods are changed actually make the foods less nourishing, and they seem to mess up with our evolutionary systems for staying healthy, really.
Both Joanna and Marit have spent several years examining the impact of ultra-processed foods on our lives.
So what exactly are the health issues posed by ultra-processed food?
Yes, there are many levels, sort of. We see increased mortality from loads of different causes. We see increased risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some types of cancer. We also see these digestive health problems like irritable bowel disease and inflammatory bowel disease. We see different types of autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis. We see some problems in the older populations with frailty and risk of osteoporosis, and also body composition, loss of muscle mass. So that's also a really different aspect of this sort of new conversation on quality of foods, that we see that this is also affecting mental health. So there will be anxiety, depression, or these combined anxiety, depression disorders. We have really strong evidence that high intake of ultra-processed foods, what we would call an ultra-processed diet, increase the risk of mental health problems as well.
So all that old diet advice, like avoid fat or watch your calories, turns out it may not be the secret to good health. In fact, it could even be misleading. Real health, it seems, comes from nutrient-dense foods that truly nourish our bodies.
Yeah, I think that if we just went back to eating whole foods prepared in a way that keeps the quality of the whole foods intact, we wouldn't have to count calories or keep track of what we're eating, you know, in a complicated way that takes all the joy of meals and living out of our lives. And also that's no one has ever done that during our human evolution. It's not like we were counting calories 2,000 years ago, even in populations that had good access to food. So I think we ended up trying to solve our problems by limiting actually nutritious foods instead of making sure that we get what we need from our meals.
All scientific foundations presented in this video are peer-reviewed. The most important references are an article on the nourishment table published in Animal Frontiers, first issue of 2025, and results from the Pure Epidemiology study published in the European Heart Journal in 2023. Several scientific presentations have been given on the nourishment table, for instance, in October 2024 at Colorado State University, USA. For more information, visit nourishyourchoice.org or explore the work of Professor Frederick Leroy at aleph2020.org.